The snowstorm came without warning. Thick snowflakes fell like ashes from the sky. The forest was silent, too silent. Inside a small wooden cabin on the mountain, a man sat by the fire. He had lived alone for years, far from cities, far from people. His name was Jack, and the only sound around him was the crackling of wood. Until he heard the sound. It wasn't the wind, it wasn't an animal. It was a thud, sudden and sharp, like something heavy hitting the ground. Then scraping, something was dragging itself across the snow, just outside his door. Jack stood slowly. He picked up his old hunting knife and walked to the door. He opened it just a little. The cold hit him like a punch, but what he saw froze his blood more than the snow ever could. There, lying in the snow, was a body, not human. It was a woman, but not from Earth. Her skin was pale blue, almost glowing. Her eyes were closed, her face soft but strange. She had ridges on her cheeks and no hair. She wore something thin, far too thin for this freezing world. Jack rushed out and pulled her inside. She was light, too light. Like her bones were hollow. He placed her near the fire, wrapping her in thick blankets. Her skin was cold, ice cold. She wasn't breathing properly, small gasps like a machine running out of power. He didn't know what to do, but he couldn't let her die. He added more wood to the fire. He boiled water and placed warm cloth on her neck. Still, she didn't wake. Then her eyes snapped open. Bright white, like tiny suns, she gasped and reached out, grabbing his arm. Her grip was strong, too strong for someone half dead. She stared at him with fear and confusion. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. She whispered one thing, again and again. Jack nodded. He pointed at the fire. "It's okay, you're warm now," he said. Even though he knew she didn't understand, she turned her head toward the fire. Then she reached out her hand. Her fingers were shaking. But as they touched the flames, something strange happened. The fire roared. It leapt higher, brighter, like someone had poured gasoline on it. Jack stepped back, stunned, but the alien woman didn't move. She sat there, breathing deeply now, her body glowing brighter with each breath. He watched as color returned to her skin, not human color but strong and full of life. Her eyes no longer looked weak. They were sharp now, focused, aware. She looked at him, tilted her head. Then she pointed at his chest, and then at her own heart, like she was trying to say something. Jack frowned. "I don't understand you," he whispered. She touched her chest again and said something, just one word. It sounded like Vila or maybe Vela. She tried to stand and almost fell. Jack caught her, helping her back to the couch. He brought her more blankets, and even offered his old coat. She touched the fabric and smiled faintly, like she had never felt something soft before. Outside, the storm grew worse. Wind howled through the trees, but Jack noticed something else. A strange hum in the air, like a machine hidden deep in the snow. He looked out the window, nothing but white, but then movement. A shape moved between the trees, fast, smooth, like it wasn't touching the ground. Jack's heart beat faster. He turned to the alien woman. She was already looking out the window, her eyes wide, her body tense. She reached out with one finger and drew a strange shape in the frost on the glass. It looked like an eye with a line through it. She tapped it twice and looked back at Jack. Her voice came out broken and shaky. "No. Warm them." Jack didn't understand, but he felt the danger. Something was coming, and it wasn't coming for him. The alien woman leaned close and whispered again. This time, one clear word that chilled him to the bone. "Hunters." Jack couldn't sleep that night, even though the fire was strong and the cabin warm. Something outside was watching. He could feel it, like cold fingers pressing on the back of his neck. The alien woman sat by the fireplace, silent and still. She hadn't spoken again since saying that one word. Hunters. She didn't sleep either. Her glowing eyes watched the door like she expected it to burst open at any moment. Jack picked up his old shotgun. It had been years since he used it. He wasn't sure it would even fire, but he cleaned it quietly, just in case. She watched him but said nothing. Suddenly, the fire flared up again. No wood had been added, no wind had touched it, but the flames rose higher for a moment and turned blue. The alien woman stood slowly. She walked to the window, her bare feet silent on the wooden floor. Jack followed her gaze. He saw it too. A beam of red light swept across the trees, slow and steady. It wasn't natural, it was scanning. Jack's heart raced. He turned to grab his coat when a new sound filled the air. It was soft at first, like a whisper through metal. Then it grew sharper, like a dozen tiny radios all talking at once. The woman placed her fingers on the floor. She pressed her palm down and the boards beneath them glowed. A small panel opened. Jack blinked. He had lived in this cabin for 10 years and never knew it had a hidden space under the floor. She climbed down and pulled him with her. They hid beneath the cabin. Surrounded by dry earth and thick roots, she waved her hand over the panel above, and it sealed quietly. Now they were in darkness, outside. Footsteps didn't crunch like boots. They glided, something smooth, metal, not human. A shadow passed over the panel above them. Then a voice came through the floor, not human. It sounded like a child laughing and a machine crying at the same time. The voice spoke a few strange words, and the cabin's door creaked open. Something moved inside. Jack held his breath. Beside him, the alien woman touched her chest. Then she touched his. Heat passed from her fingers into his body. It wasn't painful, it was calm and warm, like sunlight on skin. Suddenly, he could hear something, not in his ears, but inside his head. The voice from above became clear. It said, "Energy confirmed. Signature found. Engage retrieval." The woman shook her head and reached for something beneath her robe. She pulled out a small crystal, glowing faint blue. It pulsed like a heartbeat. She placed it in Jack's hand. The moment it touched his skin, it burned. He almost dropped it, but she closed his fingers around it. Then the burning stopped. The crystal turned soft and cool. Then it flashed once. The voice above paused. A heavy click came from the cabin. Then silence. The alien woman looked at Jack and nodded. He nodded back, even though he didn't understand everything. Only one thing was clear: those machines weren't here to help her. They wanted to take her back, or worse. The cabin above creaked again. Something floated just inches above their heads. Then another flash. Bright light poured through the cracks in the floor. Then silence. They waited for hours. The air was tight, dry. Then finally, the woman opened the hatch and peeked out. The cabin was empty, but the fire was gone. Only ashes remained. Jack stood up, legs shaking. She helped him without a word. They looked around. Nothing had been taken, but something had been added. Carved into the cabin wall with perfect, sharp lines were 3 circles. Each one had a line through it, just like the one she drew in the frost. She walked to the markings and placed her hand on them. Her skin glowed again. Then her voice came out soft. "They know now," she said, slowly, like each word hurt. "Know what?" Jack asked. She turned to him. "No, you helped." He felt a chill deeper than any snowstorm could bring. The machines hadn't just come for her. They had come to see who would protect her, and now they knew. Jack didn't open the door again for 2 days. The snow kept falling, but the real cold came from what he had seen. Those machines hadn't just visited. They had marked his cabin. They had spoken through the walls. And now they were gone, but watching, somewhere, the alien woman didn't speak much. She sat near the cold fireplace, pressing her fingers into the ashes. Jack watched her closely. She had healed fast, like fire had replaced her blood, but something was changing in her. Her skin glowed less now, dimmer than before. Her hands trembled sometimes, and she seemed to shiver even near heat. He wanted to ask her what was happening, but each time he tried, she would look away, like she was ashamed. That night, just before sleep, Jack stepped outside for firewood. The wind was quiet, snow soft beneath his boots. He bent down to grab some logs when something caught his eye, a light just for a second. Deep in the woods, blue, faint, and flickering. Not like the red beam from the machine, This was weaker, slower, like someone holding a dying candle. He turned to go back in. But then the light moved again. It blinked, then blinked again, like a signal. He looked back at the cabin, then at the trees, then he whispered, "Stay inside," even though the alien woman couldn't hear him. Jack followed the light, step by step. Each breath came out like smoke. His fingers went numb, but he kept walking. The light moved deeper into the woods. It floated low, between tree trunks. Then it stopped. Jack stepped into a clearing. There, standing in the snow, was a figure, not the alien woman, not a machine, something else. It wore a long black coat that moved without wind. Its face was hidden by a mask of glass and wires, but its body looked almost human, almost. The figure raised a hand. Jack stopped. The being didn't attack. Instead, it opened its palm. Inside was a device, small and round, glowing faint blue. Just like the crystal she had given him. The figure pointed toward the cabin, then pointed to itself. Then it said, in a voice like a soft wind, "Return her." Jack stared at it, confused. "Who are you?" he asked. The figure tilted its head. Then the light in its hand turned red. "Return her," it repeated, louder now. "Or burn." Jack stepped back, heart pounding. The figure didn't chase him. It turned and walked into the trees, and then vanished. No sound, no tracks in the snow, just gone. He ran back to the cabin, slammed the door. The alien woman was already standing. She looked at him, and then at his shaking hands. "They sent a watcher," she said. Her voice was weak. Barely more than a whisper. He nodded. "Yeah, and it gave me a choice." She sat down slowly. "No choice," she said. "If they came, they already chose." He pulled the small crystal from his pocket. It still pulsed gently. "Tell me what this really is," he asked. She reached out and touched it. "The last piece of me," she said. "If I break it, I call my people." "And if you don't?" he asked. "They find me anyway," she said. "But I die cold, outside." Something howled, not a wolf, not any animal Jack knew. A low, rattling sound like wind through broken pipes. She stood quickly and moved to the door, then stopped. "They're calling the snow beasts," she said. Jack grabbed the shotgun and lit every lamp in the cabin. Through the window, the trees moved, but there was no wind, only the crunch of heavy steps. Slow and steady. Then two glowing eyes appeared just past the tree line, too high for a man, too low for a plane. A second pair appeared beside it. Then a third. Jack turned to the woman. "What do we do now?" She looked at the fire, then at him. "You gave warmth," she said. "Now I must return it." Before he could stop her, she walked straight into the flames. The fire didn't burn her. It wrapped around her like a cloak. Her skin turned gold, and her eyes burned white. She stepped out of the fireplace like a sun given shape. Jack backed away, stunned. She opened the cabin door. Outside, the snow beasts howled again. She stepped into the cold, and the snow melted beneath her feet. She raised her hands, glowing like stars, and whispered one word, "Run." Jack didn't run. He should have, but his feet wouldn't move. He stood at the cabin doorway, watching the alien woman walk into the snow like fire walking through ice. She glowed like the sun, but he could feel how weak she really was. Each step she took made the ground hiss beneath her, turning frost into steam. The creatures in the forest growled again. Now they moved closer, slow but certain. Their eyes shined through the dark like broken stars. One of them stepped forward, tall as the trees, skin like black glass. Its chest opened like a door, and inside was something spinning, like a cold heart made of blades. The woman raised her hands. Light shot out from her palms like golden rivers. But instead of burning the creature, the light bent around it. It moved through her power like it wasn't even there. Jack stepped forward, raised his old shotgun. He didn't expect it to help, but he couldn't just stand there. He fired. The blast echoed across the mountain. The creature didn't bleed, but it stumbled. Its shoulder cracked. Its arm drooped. The other beasts howled and began to circle the cabin. The alien woman turned around, her eyes desperate now. Her glow was flickering, like a fire running out of wood. She held her hands out again, but no light came. She looked at Jack, then fell to her knees in the snow. The cold was winning. Jack ran out to her, grabbed her, and dragged her back toward the cabin. She was heavier now, like her body had turned to stone. He pulled her inside and shut the door. The beasts slammed against the walls. The wood shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Placed her near the fireplace. The flames were weak, almost gone. He added every log he had left, every piece of furniture he could break. The room grew hot, but it wasn't enough. Her skin stayed dim, her eyes barely open. "I'm sorry," Jack whispered. "I don't know what to do." She looked at him and whispered something in a broken voice. "Crystal." He pulled the glowing crystal from his coat. It still pulsed, blue and calm. She grabbed his hand and closed his fingers around it. Her own hands shook as she guided him. She pressed his hand against her chest. The crystal vanished into her skin for a moment. Nothing happened. Then light exploded from her body. The room flashed like lightning. The walls groaned from the pressure. Jack turned away, blinded. When he looked again, she was standing. But something had changed. Her skin was golden now, not blue. Her eyes no longer glowed. They burned, like stars trapped behind glass. She looked at him and spoke clearly for the first time. "You gave fire," she said. "Now I give fury." The cabin door burst open as one of the snow beasts crashed through. Before it could take a step, she raised one hand. A beam of heat blasted from her palm. It hit the beast in the chest, and the creature froze in place. Steam hissed from its body, and cracks spread through its armor. Then it shattered into black pieces like broken ice. Outside, the other creatures stopped. For the first time they backed away. Not from fear of the man, but of her. She walked outside again, brighter than before. The creatures growled but did not attack. She lifted both hands and the heat around her turned the snow to water. The mountain trembled. The clouds above shifted then. The creatures turned and disappeared into the forest. She stood there, alone, breathing hard. Then her glow faded again. She fell to one knee, coughing. Jack ran to her and held her up. "You can't keep burning yourself," he said. She leaned her head on his shoulder and whispered, "I had no choice." Behind them, the cabin was half broken. The walls cracked, windows shattered. But the fire still burned. Jack brought her back inside. She laid down, eyes closed but alive that night. He sat beside her. The storm had stopped, but a different storm was coming. Far above in the sky, a light blinked. Not a star, not a plane. A ship. Something had seen the fire she became, and now it was on its way. The next morning, Jack stood outside the broken cabin with a blanket wrapped around his shoulders. The forest was quiet again. The snow had stopped falling, but the silence felt different now. Not peaceful, empty. The alien woman was asleep inside. Or maybe just resting with her eyes closed. She hadn't said a word since the beasts ran. Her glow had faded again, this time lower than ever. She looked human now, almost too human. Pale skin, no light, breathing slow like a whisper. Jack didn't know if that meant she was healing or dying. He didn't ask. He just stayed by her side, feeding the fire and watching the window. When the light in the sky appeared again, he saw it clearly. It wasn't a star. It blinked with rhythm, growing brighter every hour. Then more lights joined it. 2, then 3, not falling stars. Not satellites, ships. She woke just before sunset, her eyes opening slowly. He told her what he saw. She nodded, then sat up, weak but steady. "My people," she whispered. "They found the signal." Jack waited for relief in her voice, but there was none, only worry. "You don't sound happy," he said. She looked at him with sad eyes. "They will come for me," she said. "But not for you," he frowned. "What does that mean?" She didn't answer right away. She walked to the door, still wrapped in the thick blanket he gave her. Then she said something that made his blood run cold. "They may erase you." Jack didn't speak. He didn't blink. He just stared at her. You mean, kill me? She shook her head. No, worse. She touched his forehead gently. Memory gone, warmth gone, only cold. The words hit him like ice. They would wipe his mind. Take away everything he saw, everything he felt, like he never helped her at. All. I won't let them, he said. She smiled faintly. You cannot stop a starship. That night. He prepared anyway. He packed his old gear maps, tools, rope, a few flares. He didn't know what he was preparing for, but he wasn't going to wait in fear. She helped him, even though she moved slower now. Her hands trembled and her skin stayed cold. Jack noticed a strange pattern spreading across her arm like veins. Made of silver, she covered it quickly when she saw him looking. But he knew she was running out of time by dawn. The ship had arrived. It floated above the valley like a silent mountain made of metal and light. No engines, no sound, just presence. Like a god staring down. A beam of soft light dropped from the ship. It didn't touch the ground. It waited. She stood outside the cabin, facing it. Jack stood beside her, holding the shotgun even though it was useless. They didn't speak. They just waited. Then the beam widened, and something stepped out. It looked like a man, tall and perfect, but its skin was smooth like glass, eyes like frozen oceans. It walked across the snow without leaving tracks. Its voice was calm, too calm. You are to return. It said to her. She nodded slowly, but then it turned its gaze to Jack. And you must forget. Jack stepped in front of her. No, he said. I don't agree. The figure didn't move. It simply raised one hand. The air around Jack grew cold. His breath froze. His thoughts slowed. But then her voice cut through the air like fire. No, she said, not him. She stepped forward, holding the silver-veined arm out. I burn for him, she said. He gave me warmth. He gave me life. The figure paused. You burn. Too bright, it said. She smiled, though tears fell down her face. Then let it end. She opened her arms, and her whole body began to glow again. But this time, it wasn't fire, it was memory. Images filled the air like falling sparks. Moments they shared her lying in his cabin, him bringing her warmth, the beasts, the fire, the fight. The sky shimmered, the light being flickered. The figure stepped back, uncertain. She looked at Jack. I am giving you all of it, she said. My warmth, my memory, my voice. Then she kissed his forehead. And vanished, just like that. Gone. No flash, no scream. Only the wind remained. The beam disappeared. The ship began to rise, and for the first time, Jack felt truly cold. But inside his mind, something stirred. A soft voice, her voice. I am still here, it said, and his chest warmed again. Asterisk days passed. But Jack couldn't feel the passing. He still sat in the cabin, staring at the door where she had stood, where she had vanished. He still heard her voice sometimes, soft and warm inside his head, but the fire didn't feel the same outside. The snow had melted in a perfect circle where she had stood. Nothing grew there now, but nothing froze either. A strange warmth lived in the earth, something that didn't belong to this world. Jack tried to go back to his old life, cutting wood, fixing tools, boiling water for tea. But every small task reminded him of her, the way she stared at flames, the way she tilted her head when learning new things, the way she said warmth like it meant everything. He knew he wasn't alone, not anymore. At night, when he dreamed, he saw stars, not the ones above the cabin, but stars with rings, stars that blinked like eyes. And sometimes he saw her, standing on a glowing platform, calling to him. Then one night, everything changed. He was gathering firewood when he noticed something new near the melted patch of ground. A small plant had grown there. Its stem was silver, and its leaves glowed blue in the dark. He crouched beside it and reached out. The moment his fingers touched the leaves, a spark jumped into his hand. He didn't pull away. Instead, he heard her voice again, clear as breath. You're ready, she said. Follow the warmth. That night he packed a bag, just like before, but this time, Not for surviving the mountain, for leaving it. As he stepped outside, the stars above moved. One broke away from the rest, falling slowly. Not a shooting star. A ship. It landed without a sound in the clearing. The same light beam returned, but softer, more golden. He didn't run this time. He walked straight into it, the ship's. Inside was warm, not cold like he expected. It was filled with soft light, smooth walls, and air that smelled like burning leaves and honey. No machines waited for him, only silence. Then a shape moved from the wall. Not a person, not exactly. A memory, glowing and gentle, it looked like. Her, but made of light and sound. "Jack," it said. Her voice, her eyes. He stepped forward, almost afraid to speak. "Are you alive?" he asked. The figure smiled. "I am spread," she said. "I gave myself to the signal, and now I live in more than one place." He didn't understand it fully, but he didn't need to. "You are inside me," he said. "Yes," she replied. "And now you will see what I saw." The walls of the ship became windows. Suddenly, the stars rushed past him, planets, moons, clouds of gas that glowed purple and green. A city appeared, floating in space, shaped like a spiral, and Jack saw others beings like her, glowing, walking, laughing. "They are my people," she said. "But they fear Earth." He looked at her in confusion. "Why?" "Because you burn too bright," she said. "Because one human gave more warmth than 100 stars." The ship moved again, faster than thought. It entered the spiral city, and Jack felt the pressure change. A doorway opened ahead, and the light form of her beckoned. He stepped through and found himself in a garden. Real trees, real water, but none of it was earth-made. He looked up and saw no sky, only energy swirling above. She stood beside him again, more solid now. Her light no longer flickered. "You are the first," she said. "The first human to be brought here." Jack smiled faintly. "And I didn't even pack lunch." She laughed, real and full, then walked toward a tall arch of glowing symbols. "Come," she said. "They want to meet the man who shared his fire." He followed, unsure what waited beyond the arch. But one thing was certain, he wasn't alone, not anymore. And whatever future lay beyond this world, he would face it with the same warmth that changed her life, and now it was changing his. Jack stood beneath the glowing arch as soft lights floated past him like living stars. Each step forward felt heavier than the last, not because he was afraid, but because something deep inside him was changing. He wasn't just a mountain man anymore. He wasn't just the one who shared his fire. Now he was part of something larger, something older, and waiting just beyond the arch were the ones who had watched it all. The hall was wide and endless, shaped like a tunnel made of stone and sky. At the far end stood beings of light, tall and graceful. Some had eyes like suns, others shimmered like water. They watched him in silence. One of them stepped forward. It wore no robe, no armor, only light. Its voice came like wind across a canyon. "You carry her," it said. Jack nodded slowly. "She gave herself to me," he answered. The figure tilted its head. "Not herself," it said. "Her warmth, her trust, her truth." The room glowed brighter as more figures stepped forward. He could feel something pressing against his chest, not painful, but heavy. The memory, the crystal, the fire, it was all still inside him. "Do you understand what she did?" one asked. Jack took a breath. "She gave everything to protect me." "No," they said together. "She gave everything to choose you." The lights shifted, and suddenly, the room melted away. He stood in a place between places, floating above Earth, above stars, above time. And in front of him, she stood again, but not as light, not as shadow, fully herself, whole. Her eyes met his, and he didn't need to speak. She smiled and reached out. He took her hand, and warmth surged through him like a second heartbeat. "You kept me alive," she said. "You gave me reason to survive." Jack's voice trembled. "And now what? Is this the end?" She shook her head gently. "No, this is the choice." The space around them shifted, showing two paths. One led back to Earth, to the cabin, to the silence of the woods. The other led deeper into stars, into a life he didn't know, but felt. Calling him, he looked at her. If I go back, do I forget? No, she whispered, never. And if I stay? You help others like me, lost, hunted, fading. Jack closed his eyes. He thought of the cabin, the fire, the snow. But then he thought of her voice, her tears, her strength. He had always lived alone, but now he had something more than a home. He had a purpose. He opened his eyes. I stay. The light around them flared like a sunrise. The figures of light bowed their heads. She stepped closer and placed both hands on his chest. You are the first, she said, but not the last. A mark appeared on his skin. Glowing gold and warm, it pulsed gently, a sign, a memory, a promise from that day. Jack was no longer just a man from the mountain. He became something more. A guide, a flame in the dark, a keeper of warmth in a universe that had grown too cold. And somewhere, in every corner of the stars, when a lost soul whispered for help in the frozen dark, he came, not with weapons, but with fire, and the story always began the same. He found her in the snow. He gave her warmth, and she gave him the stars.